believe that was my first try.
So, for the past 4 months, I have been busy with work or playing other games, but I'm back to Sekiro now, and I managed to route and complete all of Senpou Temple in just 2 days. So, that's a thing I guess, and here it is. Not going to lie to you, I thought this area was going to be awful. My memory of Senpou from a normal run is that it was pretty windy, and there are 2 sections in particular that have quite a sizable gap between the shrines. But I was shocked by just how little trouble this actually gave me. Here you see me waiting for a moment for one of the Ashina grunts to lob a brick at me, because the action has a tendency to lure the absolute unit on the other side of the gate away from the path I need to run through. I say tendency, mind, because it doesn't always actually work. And when it does, sometimes I'll just get body blocked by a dog instead, but hey ho, didn't happen this time, which is all that matters I guess. I probably spent more time practicing this section than it took me to complete it, which hasn't happened much until this point, but honestly most of Senpou Temple was like this, leading ironically to the Buddhist temple area being one of the least stressful experiences in the game so far.
Nice. That's exactly how I wanted to do it. No errors. Fantastic.
The next area was a little messier. I hadn't practiced this bit as much because there wasn't really too much to it, but maybe I should have, since I made one mistake and spent perhaps another minute here than was necessary running my face into a wall. I don't know, you be the judge. I'm not going for perfect, I just want to get shrines behind me. I meant to hit this grapple, by the way. That was the mistake I was on about earlier. Now is probably a good time to explain that I will be doing a bit of cutting here and there, just in the interest of making this as watchable as possible for those of you watching the entire thing. But who am I kidding, most of the people here are just here for the boss fights anyway, so I can practically say anything I like here. You know, come to think of it, I actually really despise Hello cat, yes I know, I'm sorry, I am recording video. I also want to take the opportunity to thank people for watching. I recently started getting hundreds more views on my Sekiro Blindfolded video, which came as a bit of a surprise, so if you were one of them then thanks. And thanks even more so if you left a comment. Seeing people's response to this has genuinely improved my day on more than one occasion. It's cool as heck to know people are actually seeing the dumb video I pumped tens of hours into for no good reason. And it was a fun achievement for me to hit 100 subs the other day too, so thanks I guess. Since I've nearly found the shrine, I'll explain that looking for shrines isn't always too bad. The combination between directional sound and the fact the shrine makes a super unique noise makes it relatively easy to find, provided there's no enemies or ledges to complicate things, but you know, it can still take a bit of time. Evidently. Oh hey, I've found the shrine, I can stop stalling for things to talk about now.
Not exactly perfect, but take that.
Nah, again though, the fact that shrines make a noise for honestly no apparent reason is yet another make or break it game design feature in this run that makes the game so accessible. I've actually been able to make it this far without being able to see what's going on. Sekiro is a really well designed game. Miyazaki, please respond to my emails. Here I deliberately die in a specific corner, but the AI glitched out and made me think I was somewhere else entirely. So I cut out the part where I needlessly screamed cunt at a video game NPC. I said this was one of the least stressful sections, but I wasn't exactly zen about it, to be honest. But at the same time, fuck random NPC pathing. The blind gamer community don't appreciate it, Miyazaki. You might be interested to know that initially in this section, my plan to activate the lift was to drop into the death pit beforehand, because it would teleport me back up to the top in the position and orientation I was in before I fell, and then I could just move to the left and pull the cord. I tried so hard to brute force that to happen because I thought it would be funny, but after a while it just got too frustrating, so I found something more sensible to do instead. From here the route to the shrine was pretty simple and uninteresting, so I've cut it out, but feel free to watch the unedited version if you fancy. Okay, chat. From here, the route to the shrine was pretty simple and uninteresting, so I've cut it out, but feel free to watch the unedited version if you fancy.
Nice.
Here is one of the long sections I was on about. It's really windy and there's lots of enemies, which adds some time sensitivity to traversing the area, but After some trial and error, I discovered some ways to limit variation in my attempts to get through here. To start off with, I made sure to make use of all the grappling points to help me zero in my position as much as possible, and to avoid getting beat down by all the old people. I used my lock-on to help me aim which way I was running, and brilliantly, the monk I run straight at almost always opens with the same attack, which lets me run straight past him. The trees here have so many grappling points that I did mess up here a few times, but it was generally pretty consistent. After I get inside the temple, there are a bunch of crickets that I'm lucky aren't hostile, because if they were, I'm sure this area would be really shit and annoying. And the monks inside are pretty oblivious whilst they're meditating, so long as I run in a straight line, I can get through it with relative ease. Honestly, surprisingly hard to do that sometimes though. Then there's an outdoor section, which was kind of hell for my first ever playthrough, and I've honestly never learnt how to fight half the enemies in it, but they're easy enough to avoid, so why bother? Then there's a small platforming section between me and the Armoured Warrior boss fight, and I've decided that provided I can prove it's possible to traverse the distance between the shrine and the boss, I don't have to do it every time, because quite honestly, I don't want to have to do it more than once. I will say the Armoured Warrior is an interesting fight blindfolded. I got insanely lucky when I beat him, both because I managed to beat him on my second try, and even more amazingly as I did it on my first death blow. Because of how the fight works, I can't kill him through attrition like I would most other bosses. I've just got to somehow locate the side of the bridge blindfolded and then kick him off it. The boss takes up quite a commanding role in my positioning in this fight, so my best bet, I realised, is to assume that the boss has pushed me against the side of the bridge, and to try and walk around him when I hear I have a death blow opportunity, but there's still probably like a 50-50 chance that I'll try to push him the wrong way. And if he pushes me around too much, I might just end up in one of the side rooms at either end of the bridge instead, and be trapped there for all eternity, since there's no reasonable way of escaping when he just pounds me relentlessly into a corner. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about the Armoured Warrior. There's not much else to it, really. His attacks are all pretty telegraphed, both visually as well as audibly, because his armour makes a lot of noise, so I can hear him when he's walking around and when he's trying to do a swing or something like that. The only attack that really gave me much issue was he has this really fast pommel bash that he does, and that can quite often break up some of his attack combos, but I just try to have my guard up most of the time, and that seemed to work pretty well. And it's also very lucky that he can't push me off the bridge himself as well, because I do spend probably about half the fight pushed up against a hole in the bridge. So yeah, that's again another thing that they reasonably could have included as a feature to the fight, which probably would have made it more interesting in a normal run, but honestly would have made it probably nearly impossible in a blindfolded run such as this. But yeah, enjoy watching, I guess.
yeah, let's go. Hell yeah.
After I beat the shit out of Roberto's dad, I managed to find the shrine soon after, but now for the other long section between shrines, and once again, grappling points are my fucking saviour. This would be so much more stressful if I couldn't cover distance with grapples reliably, giving me a zeroed in position, and a safe one at that. Like, fuck, if I had to do this shit all with dashes and directional inputs, nah, that's not happening. The rooftops were all pretty consistent at the start. It wasn't until after this first bit that I reached any real trouble. I have to run past a few enemies, and it wasn't uncommon that my positioning would be off slightly to grapple out of harm's way, so I had to reset more than a few times here. Then there's a whole bunch more enemies I have to run past, which is probably why I look like I'm sucking on lemons for this whole section, but it makes everything pretty time sensitive, so I guess that's just my concentration phase or something. Pretty embarrassing, but I can't explain much more about this area because I want to go over the boss fight without needing to talk over it, but if you want to ask in the comment sections about anything specific, feel free. A whole lot of what's left was just trial and error dashing, which helps me avoid touching the camera controls. It looks unpracticed because a lot of the solutions for sections I actually find on the fly, and I was trying something new in one of these sections. It didn't work and it got me slapped, but I didn't die, so that's okay. The boss was surprisingly simple. I forgot my positioning at one point at the start of the fight against the first monkey, but was able to reset and improvise my way to the second monkey using what I knew existed in front of me in the area. And the third monkey was just more straight line running, which is always harder than it looks, but I thought these guys were going to be annoying as hell, so thanks for the ability to reset the fight from software. I used a limited consumable called a Gachin sugar before the fight because the gimmick of this boss is that all the monkeys are highly perceptive and they just run away from you. Most everybody who fights these guys for the first time beats it after chasing them around for about 5 minutes straight, so the Gachin gives me a stealth buff which makes killing the first two possible, and it's lucky I did it on my first try because I think I only had about 5 Gachin sugars total for this save file. I play this across 3 separate save files so that I can practice it on one and keep my recorded progress safe on one save file without cheating by accident. And I think this point is about 49 hours into the run, which is way more than I thought it would be. Like, holy shit. Not sure where I'm gonna go next, but I'm feeling kind of confident, I think, so I might go for the Miss Noble. But I know he's a boss that's notorious for tripping up challenge runs because of just how unforgiving some of his attacks can be, so hopefully we can get there. So far, I haven't practiced anything pathwise beyond what you've seen here, but I have given Inner Genichiro a go, because I was planning to make that a video too, but something about that fight lags my game out, which is a real shame. So I may or may not try that again in the future when I have a better graphics card, but I'm gonna shut up now.
Would you believe that was my first try?
I'm gonna try not to take 5 months with the next part, but I can't promise anything for sure. But until then, peace guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.